Okay. Now we're recording after I've kind of gone over much of the tutorial already. I may do a really quick recap depending on how everything else goes. But remember, a computer program cannot see what you were trying to do. It cannot identify similar looking ways of formatting things. Anything that's machine readable is entirely specific. So, you know, a person can look at a 0 put in the place of an O and can tell that, you know, if someone writes a line, can tell from context whether it's a lowercase l or a cap or a numeral 1, Arabic numeral 1. Computer can't do that. So that's why if you have any formatting issues whatsoever, it is going to cause problems. You will not, your script won't run, and if you don't fix it on your own, it will cause you to lose a lot of points on your grade for this assignment. I'm looking for just a little bit of narrative development and the ability to correctly follow these, again, not too terribly complex, but absolutely unforgiving, strict standards. This has a side effect. There's a side benefit to this. Next month's class is the animation and storyboarding class, but after that there's editing. A lot of people get into editing and are flabbergasted when suddenly they are not cut any slack for typos or grammatical errors anymore. That's the industry. That's what the industry is like. You want to get something read, you want someone to consider your work, you need to make it perfect or very nearly perfect before you hand it to an editor, before you hand it to a reader. Consider the ChoiceScript parser to be a kind of trial run at following a format perfectly, because one of the easiest, most convenient ways to work down a slush pile of submissions is to throw out anything that has a couple of errors in it, and people do it. They just do. Okay, so those are kind of the just quick high-level tips. This is something that this is a assignment that I find many people don't find to be that bad once they get going with it, but often have a certain wall to climb just to get started. So at this point, I actually really want to take questions. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Feel free
It's
to.
just about all the stuff on, if you scroll up, all the stuff, the licensing and all that,
Right.
written by. Do you want us to change any of this? Like here, there's the title that you just clicked on. Are we naming
Okay.
it, giving author?
So please do leave the license information in there. It's not essential for this assignment, but the choice script is not licensed in an unrestricted way. So in the absence of making sure that you are compliant with the license, just leave the license information, physically compliant, leave the license information in. Now do go ahead and change these fields, you know. And if you aren't using any variables, purge those. So this is a commented license field, and anything with comment is not going to show up when you go to play the game. But leave this in your startup file. Leave this in as text that will be shown when you start the game.
Okay.
Not essential for an academic assignment like this, but if you were putting this out in some other context, you need to actually be following the license, because ChoiceScript is available free, but there are terms, including retaining the license in the work. Unlike Twine, where Twine is open source and you can use it any way you want to. You can take Twine, create a game in it, and go sell it on itch.io. In case you're not familiar with itch.io, I'll show that quickly here. Oops. Itch.io is a independent, an indie game site, and you find a lot of people's small indie game projects on itch.io. itch.io. It's kind of like Steam for little games, indie games, alternative games, and it can be a great place to showcase your work and to be able to say you have a commercially available game. And yes, you can actually create a game in in Twine, and put it on here. Though you'll note that a lot of the games here are graphical and have more to them than that, and that the ones that are there are Twine games on here, but the ones that are actually selling commercially mostly have been modified considerably, have graphics, sometimes have sound incorporated, things like that. But to get back to the point, ChoiceScript is something you can use non-commercially, meaning not sell works in ChoiceScript. Though if you have if you're going to, though there are opportunities through Choice of Games, the people who provide ChoiceScript, to publish with them. So ChoiceScript is more restricted than Twine is, but you can still do a lot with it, and you can also it's also a lesson in how to use this kind of scripting language, basically, and there are many out there, to format a game, especially to format game content, which is what you often have to do as a games writer. You're not having to come up with the game's engine, but you have to input your story and like dialogue and such directly into a script file, or sometimes even a code base. Getting a bit of an echo there from someone else. It's where your microphone is picking me up. Basically, there we go. Kimberly, I just went ahead and muted you because your microphone was picking up me and causing an echo. You can unmute yourself if you have a question to ask. So, Brandon, does that answer your question? Or did I
Yes, it
tangent
does.
off? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone feel free to ask questions either by raising your hand in the attendee screen, or unmuting yourself to ask, or you can also use the chat window to ask a question. Other questions? Okay, not a problem, Alexis. Oh, okay, that's why I knew this game. It's one of Anna Anthropy's games. Yeah, Kimberly. Just the basics. The basics are all you really have to do here. This is actually, once you get yourself over that initial difficulty curve, potentially an easy grade. You do have to have a scene. You don't have to have a complete story. And Alexis, yes, the scene, you can just create it right in the startup text file. And is sometimes people do create multiple scenes, but that is not required. It's not expected. The only reason to create multiple scenes is because you have an idea that you want to try to play out over multiple scenes to become more familiar with ChoiceScript, become more ready to do game writing using JavaScript, which again, ChoiceScript is based on JavaScript. We're just not getting into any of the more complex parts of JavaScript, just the basic elements that are required for ChoiceScript use. Like here's the JavaScript file. Or wait, no, this is one of the JavaScript files. It gives it sets the frame up. Yes, Kimberly, that's correct. All you need to do is edit startup text. So you can. This is my. This is the clean copy I have here. But that's not what I meant to click on. Minimize this. This is what a clean copy looks like. And you can see right here some of the things that I changed. I removed the other scenes from the file. I deleted the scene files from the folder. So it's just startup text in there. And then you can start customizing to tell your story. Okay, so that's since some of you came in later. Really simple. Inside your ChoiceScript web folder, which I've renamed here to ChoiceScript sample, will be a My Game folder. Do it this way. Including here is index.html, which you'll double click on and open your browser to test your game, make sure it's working properly. And inside that, there's a scenes folder. And you can open startup text in TextEdit. If you do, make sure you go to the preferences and set the preference to plain text, not rich text. Or you can open it in a dedicated text editor or code editor like Text Wrangler, which is available free from the App Store, which is in your Applications folder. If you go to the App Store and search Text Wrangler, you'll find Text Wrangler. Text Wrangler is free, and it's a good way to edit a file like this because it provides line numbers and keeps the formatting absolutely consistent with the way it doesn't attempt to do any kind of clarification for you. For example, if a line runs you can just keep going on forever. It's never going to wrap the text for you because for all that's easy to read, it can be unclear in terms of the way the text is formatted for the computer to read. Alexis, did that answer your question? You can just, okay, good. Other questions? For anyone who is watching the archive or came in later, one of the most important basic things of ChoiceScript is to not mix up the spacing or to add any tabs. If you add tabs in addition to or instead of spaces, or if you have the wrong number of spaces, you will get errors when you try to run your game. So don't do that. You may want to keep a clean copy of startup text somewhere. You can even even copy it out. Rename the file. Something like, so then you can refer back to the formatting if you're worried about making mistakes, or you find you have made mistakes, and make sure that you're indenting. It's 2 spaces per level in. When there are choices within choices, it's another 2 spaces for the choice. You have the choice on the same level as the text, and so the 2 spaces in for the options, and then everything under those options, including further text on those options, is another 2 spaces in from that. Asterisk indicates a command. The hashtag is used for a line of text that is going to appear on screen as a choice. When you have lines that appear on screen that are not choices, they don't need to start anything particular. Like right here, unfortunately, Morale doesn't work like that. But they need to be indented the appropriate number of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any other questions? I know this has been fairly quick, but there's nothing wrong with it being quick. The importance is to kind of help get people over that kind of degree to which it can be intimidating to try and do something that is programming. It's not that hard. It's just that the computer is absolutely strict and unforgiving in the way it interprets the file. A single typo can cause your game to not work. I'll give people another minute or two to see if they have any questions, including at this point any questions that aren't actually about ChoiceScript, any questions about the class otherwise. So in a few moments here, if no one either has a question or indicates that they're working on how to formulate a question, we'll go ahead and wrap this session up. I hope you're all doing well. I know it's been a whole lot of new ideas and techniques this month. If you have questions, not only right now, but also after the session, you can always, thank you, Brandon. You can always basically contact me over FSO. And yes, Kimberly, I am going to add this as a movie file and post the link. I'm going to add it as a unlisted YouTube video and then post the link for the entire class so you can refer back to it. So for everyone who is here, thank you. Anyone who's watching this later, I hope this has been helpful and has answered your questions. And I want to see all of you do really well in this assignment.
Hey, Mr. Eklund, can we stay on for a second?
Yes, if you want to, once I'm done recording and officially ended the session, you can go ahead and hang out to chat. In fact, let me go ahead and end recording now, and this ends the official kind of tutorial part. And if you want to hang out for a bit, feel free.